am Mathura. I'm an artist and poet from Estonia, and ever wondering about who I am?
That's why I'm here. I'm SJ Fowler. I'm a poet and artist also, based in the UK. And this project is a collaborative visual poetry exhibition.
Yeah, something which I think has never been done before in Estonia, at least.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to do it. It's very important in terms of my practice to fuse not only collaborative practice but visual poetry as well. So I think what we're doing, which is really unique, is not only exploring the potential of the handmade and the handwritten around poetry, but also doing it simultaneously. So it's really direct collaboration.
And I think there's also the question that where does poetry really begin? Or like is there any line between poetry, the visual? What is poetry? If I'll be silent now for 2 minutes, could that be poetry as well?
Yeah. But I think that's what's led me to do this kind of work, is asking at least the question, which a lot of people don't do because they're afraid of what is an intimidating reality of definition. But I think a lot of the time it's just genre. People say one thing is visual, one thing is poetic, literary and visual, but I think, to me, if it's rooted in language and in text, it is the domain of poetry. And the handwritten has been painfully removed from the tool bag of poets, painfully so, because why is there such an absence of handwritten poetry in the way things are published? And we know why practically, but in a digital age, what we're doing, the handmade, the rough, the asemic is so important, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And about what you called it, the boxes or the framings. When I wrote my prose book, then I was asked, like, what is it? Is it a novel? Or I said, I don't know. Take it as a poem. It's just 100 pages long. But we have to classify it somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's how, because a lot of people don't necessarily engage with the actual content of people's work, whatever medium, those genre words become symbols for the whole thing. And I think that's very interesting. And in a way, something we have to adapt to say, it's very important for me to say the kind of work we're doing that's in this exhibition is resolutely poetry, precisely because I know most people will not perceive it that way. And there's lots of reasons why that is. I don't want to talk too much, but I think it being physical and cathartic and immediate, that's been stolen from people. That every person's handwriting is different, that's been taken from people. The fact that language can be broken down into its visual properties, that's been taken from people. So I really believe, even though people would say, oh, it's abstract writing, it's calligraphy, it's visual art, to me, it's very, very much the ken of language, and therefore it's poetry. And what we're doing, which is really interesting, is we're friends for 15 years. We speak different languages. Thank God you speak my language and I don't speak yours. We can work across languages at the same time, physically in the same space, and that's a completely unique approach to what poetry is for most people's perception.
Yeah, and it's, as we saw today, coming to life by both of us at the same time. And I think there's also an element to this project, which is, simultaneously it's creating the symbols and at the same time just obliterating them, or any symbols, washing them away, or kind of threading the borderline between them. Or like if we have even this piece here, you write this, is this a letter, or is this like a word, or is it not?
Yes.
I think it could really be both.
When you're doing it, do you find like almost one of you takes lead, or is it just kind of you're in your own space, or are you reacting to it as well, do you think?
It's a little bit like who starts it, and then the other one is, or at least I feel, Stephen is starting and more, in some ways reacting to it.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of melted in a couple of lines from my poems, but people say they can't read my handwriting anyhow. So
this is a perfect project for that, Mathura. If your handwriting is illegible, then you're living the dream in the Asamic world.
But I do write, actually. Most of my writing I write by hand, even prose. Like at least 2/3 I write by hand, my first draft. So.
Right.
So I think there is something very valuable in that touch, just a physical touch. Our world is also more and more virtual in a way, and I think this physicality also, as we did today, this taking the paint and ink, this physicality is something necessary to not to lose.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's the key element of it, to go back to what you were mentioning, the existential layers. The simplicity and the immediacy of what we're doing hides how profound physical mark making for human beings, which has been around since cave paintings, is being robbed from young people and from people in their everyday life. And they've shown clinically in studies that if someone is writing with their hands, the benefits, the catharsis is measurable compared to if they're typing. And it's not something often discussed, but it is really important that in a digital age we reinforce, so that if that's all people get from our exhibition, that we've decided to physically get together collaboratively and make something simultaneously with our bodies, with colour, and with us being close to each other, with the sensory experience, that's worthwhile.
I think so. Completely agree.
And this work represents the instinct, the hand, the body, the signature, the gesture of language, the miracle that we write at all. I think that's in it. I can understand if someone say it's just a squiggle, but it's not a stretch to say within what we've done today, sat in London, dipping our brushes into a pot of ink, that there's something of our signatures, the bodies that hold our personas and our existences marked on the paper. That is something that has layers to it, and why this project is unique and worthwhile, I think.
Right. Already the signature is very unique for everybody. You can't copy it. And I would say that also maybe one of the things this exhibition or project can do, or at least I feel it's doing for me, is to sort of bring to the front the whole idea of the importance of exploration. That we're just exploring. We don't know what the final result will be in the end, or if it's any worth or not any worth. But the exploration itself is worth the endeavor to undertake it.
I couldn't agree more, yeah. I think, and collaborations often are more about that than our, shall we say, solo works. Because you have to go on a journey. So it's a case of being able to convey to people, and hopefully people feel it when they're in the exhibition, that this is the document of a journey. It's not necessarily about the end point. Is the end point always the most fascinating thing? If we can encourage people to make works together, or we can encourage people to make works that require physical touch, it's quite profound.
Yeah, and we could ask, would we really take on more journeys if we knew where each of them will end, or is it the opposite?
I agree. Life is about appreciating the collaborative process with other people. We've emphasized that in our medium, and testing the boundaries of what you and I are primarily poets, writing in text. And here we've come together to use ink and paint and collage and crayons and space.